think a lot of times though, we forget this, right? We forget that there will be good times, there will be bad times, and that, we just need to make it through and maintain that perspective. We have these expectations that we want something to work out the way we want it to work out because we think that's the way that it needs to work out in order for us to keep going in the right direction. Hey there, lovely. If you're a driven and highly ambitious woman who has checked all the boxes, followed all the rules, only to realize you don't actually feel fulfilled or you don't feel like you're living your purpose, then you are absolutely in the right place. My name is Melissa Chavis. I'm an intuitive mindset coach, and I am absolutely obsessed with helping you discover your true purpose, that thing you were put here on this earth to do, so that you can live the most fulfilling and abundant life possible. Hey there, beautiful. Welcome back to another episode of the Authentic Awakening podcast. So, do you ever feel like a specific topic or concept keeps coming up for you over and over again during a period of your life where you just need to hear it, or there's something in there that you're meant to learn from or understand during that period of time? For me, this has been happening so much lately, and I don't know if it's just a recent occurrence or if I'm finally just realizing that this is happening for me in my life. But this is something that just kind of keeps coming up for me over and over again in sort of different areas of my life and different concepts or different topics. And one that has come up for me recently is there's this Chinese parable that the story just keeps coming up in different contexts. So the first time I heard it was on Bluey. If you are a parent of young kids, I'm sure you understand what Bluey is and what that means for our lives these days. But it is something that I am very, very frequently watching in our house. So the first time I heard this Chinese parable was on Bluey. And then shortly after that, I heard it on one podcast. And then that same week, just later in the week, heard it on a totally different podcast about a different topic. And so after that final podcast episode, I was like, okay, this keeps coming up for me. I've heard this how many times, and I've never heard of it before, but I heard this 3 times in this short span of time. I really think something here to this. There's something I need to learn here or pay attention to at the very least. And so kind of started thinking about it and processing it and trying to kind of find the meaning in there and figure out the lesson that I think I'm meant to learn from this Chinese parable that keeps coming up into my awareness. So anyway, I'm going to paraphrase this for you. And of course, this rendition is the Bluey rendition, basically, because that's the one I've heard the most, because not only did I hear it that first time, but I've since heard it several times because I'm sure we've seen that episode at least 15 times at this point. And so here is the Chinese parable. So there's a farmer who has a horse. One day, that horse runs away. When the neighbor hears about the horse running away, he says to the farmer, "Oh, what bad luck." And the farmer says, "We'll see." The next day, the horse comes back and he brings with them 4 more horses that he found while he was out on his adventure. And the neighbor says, "Oh, what good luck." And the farmer says, "We'll see." The following day, the farmer's son falls off one of the horses that he's trying to tame and breaks his leg, to which the neighbor says, "Oh, what bad luck." And the farmer replies, "We'll see." The following day, there's a military recruiter coming around to recruit young men to go off to war. He doesn't take the farmer's son because of the broken leg, to which the neighbor says, "Oh, what good luck." And the farmer replies, "We'll see." So the moral of the story is things will eventually work out as they're meant to in the end. There will be ups and downs. There will be good fortune, bad fortune throughout our lives. However, in the end, things will work out as they're meant to. And as I've taken some time to explore this and think through it and try to understand the meaning and how it applies in my life and what the lesson here is for me and why this keeps coming up is, I think that just overall, the fact that throughout life, there will be times when it seems like the things that are happening in our lives are good, and there will be times when it seems like the things that are happening in our lives are bad. There will be twists and turns and ups and downs along the way. No matter what, this is a human life, and that is to be expected. Life is not this linear journey to get to where we're trying to go. It just never is. That isn't real life. That's not reality. But ultimately, the key is to not get caught up in any obstacle or challenge that comes your way. And also, don't get too carried away by the good times either. It's really all about balance and that just knowing that whatever your current situation, it too is temporary because life will change. Life doesn't stay the same. And over time, there will be good times and there will be bad times. But ultimately, it will work out as it's meant to, because that is just what life does. That is how it works. And sometimes the things that we see as, bad things in the moment turn out to actually be really good for us. Turns out that that was good fortune for us, right? And then sometimes the things in life that seem to be really good and then we get really excited about, maybe in the end really wasn't that great for us and really didn't help us to get further along on our journey or move in the right direction ultimately. And it seemed good in the moment, but maybe in the end, it really wasn't good fortune as we thought. And so I think a lot of times, though, we forget this, right? We forget that there will be good times, there will be bad times, and that, we just need to make it through and maintain that perspective. We have these expectations that we want something to work out the way we want it to work out because we think that's the way that it needs to work out in order for us to keep going in the right direction. And then when it doesn't, we get so reactive and so caught up in the moment and in the situation and just make it mean so much about our future. We kind of extrapolate this one situation into all the negative things that are going to come after it because of this one event. And it's not necessarily going to work out that way. That just because this one bad thing happened today doesn't mean that you're not still going to have 25 other good things happen tomorrow. We just don't know. We truly never know. And I think that we get so reactive to the day-to-day situations and what's coming up in our lives. And we feel like, oh, this means this, or this means this. And we make it mean so much in that moment, when in reality, in the grand scheme of things, it really doesn't mean everything that we think it means. So I think it's necessary to kind of take this step back and understand that over time, things are ultimately working out as they're meant to. Truly, in life, things will work out as long as we just maintain the effort to keep moving in the right direction. And when you can gain this perspective, when you can step back and look at things from this place, it gets easier to deal with all the ups and downs that are inevitably going to come your way, that are inevitably going to happen in your life. You will have good times and you will have bad times. That is just life. But I think that maintaining this perspective and holding this point of view requires a lot of trust and faith. And I think that those are two of the most difficult skills to build. As humans, we want certainty and we want to try and control the outcome because we feel like if we can control the outcome and control the way things go, then we have this certainty, then we know what's going to happen next. And so it's very, very difficult for our brains to just let go of the outcome and trust that things are happening as they're meant to, and that things will work out for us in the future, even though it's this completely unknown thing that we have zero control over. What happens is we don't have this trust. We don't have this faith. We're trying to control. We're trying to grasp at straws to maintain some semblance of control over our lives. And so when things don't go the way we want them to, then we try to get an even tighter grip on things. We try to hold on even tighter to making things go in the right direction for us. And we just make it mean so much. We give it so much meaning. We basically tell ourselves that because of this one thing going wrong or not going the way that we wanted it to, it means that ultimately things aren't going to work out the way we want them to. We make it mean that much in our lives. And we try to predict, what this obstacle or this failure means and how it's going to impact us down the road, as if we have any actual idea what the future holds for us. We try to create this certainty and we try to create this control over the outcomes, and we hold on to them so tightly that we become so reactive to every up and down in our lives that we're just totally missing the point. We're totally missing out on so much in our lives because we get so consumed by the day-to-day nuances and details of our lives. And so I truly think that developing an ability to tune in to your inner knowing, this inner guide that is within all of us, is so crucial. I mean, ultimately, it's crucial no matter what, but especially if you're trying to take your life in a certain direction, if you're trying to create change in your life and you're having a hard time trusting and having faith that it will all work out. When you're able to really tune in to this inner guide within yourself, you will create this sort of internal compass that you can always look to, that you can always come back to know whether or not you're still headed in the right direction, regardless of whatever situation has come up in your life today. You're able to tune back in and know whether or not you're still focused and still moving in the right direction in your life on the grand scheme of things as a whole, not just the moment to moment details. And it becomes slightly easier then to have this trust and to have this faith because you sort of have developed this relationship internally where you just know you're in it for the long haul. You're headed toward this ultimate goal, this ultimate outcome for yourself, no matter what, whether things go wrong today or whether they go right tomorrow, you're still heading in the same direction. And you have this internal knowing and then are able to trust and have faith in yourself to keep moving in that direction, regardless of what happens for you today. And so while I think that it's super important to develop this inner knowing and to get to know this inner guide that is within all of us, in order to develop that faith and that trust that things are working out, that ultimately life works out as it's meant to. That's incredibly important. But I think just overall in life, perspective is so important. And knowing that we are giving meaning to the things that are happening in our lives. We are the ones assigning meaning. We are the ones who are deciding whether the situation is good or is bad. And so maintaining this perspective that we get to choose, we get to decide, we get to make it mean whatever we want to make it mean. You can truly see that failure in life as, I guess I needed to learn this lesson. I needed to learn this lesson so that I can take the next step toward whatever I'm working toward accomplishing in my life. And so I think perspective is crucial in life. And I think that this is ultimately what I've taken from this Chinese parable is that life truly is all about perspective. It's all about how you see the situation and whether you're going to make it mean something good or make it mean something bad, or just sit back and let things happen and realize that no matter what is happening in your day-to-day life, whether it feels like something positive or feels like something negative, in the long run, life is all about the ups and downs, and they are inevitable. And ultimately, things will work out as they're meant to work out. And we get to choose to see life this way. We get to choose to have this perspective and to move through life in this way. And we get to choose how we feel on a day-to-day basis. We don't have to be so reactive. We don't have to get caught up in every little thing that comes up throughout the day or throughout our lives. We get to maintain whatever feeling we want to maintain within us, regardless of anything that's happening outside of us. And so I think ultimately it all comes back to perspective and understanding that things are going to happen. Sometimes it's going to feel like it's going your way, and sometimes it's not. And that's okay. That is life. It's 50-50. It's good and bad. And it always will be, no matter what. And so there's really no point in getting caught up in all of the little things and getting caught up in that day to day and making things mean things and, making it mean that your life is going to work out in a certain way or that it's not going to work out in a certain way. Because any one little thing that happens in your life, it doesn't automatically mean that your entire life is going to work out in a certain way. And so what I would ask is, how are you choosing to see the situations in your life today? Because remember, it is ultimately your decision, your choice. You get to decide what these events mean, and you get to decide how you're going to move forward from it. So until next time, my friend, sending you so much love and perspective. That's it for another episode of the Authentic Awakening podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you found it helpful, I'd love to hear from you. You can do that by liking and subscribing to my YouTube channel or rating and reviewing the podcast wherever you're listening.